Hi, I'm Kelsey from RoughAndTumbleFarmhouse.com, and today I'm going to show you how to train in your new milk goat. So before we get into the actual training of the milk goat, I want to just talk a little bit about my milk goat training philosophy and sort of my training philosophy with animals in general. So I first started working with horses when I was in about the 5th grade, and I've spent my whole life working with cows, horses, goats, you name it. But my training philosophy kind of comes from the horse world. Sorry, I've got a goat reaching over for snuggles. It comes from the horse world, from the fictional horse world actually, but just because it's fiction doesn't mean there isn't some truth to it. So the first one comes from the book Misty of Chincoteague, which is an excellent book, and to make a very long and great story short, there's a grandpa in that book who raises young horses. They come wild from an island and he raises them up. And his philosophy is that you don't break a horse, you gentle a horse. And in the horse world, that's a term you hear often, that a horse is green broke or broke to ride. And his idea was that you don't break an animal, you gentle them. So you're not trying to be forceful or mean or difficult with them. You're really taking time and patience and respect to gently teach the animal what it is you want them to do. The second philosophy that I like to follow comes from the Man from Snowy River, again another very popular horse movie, and the main character Jim Craig, who is probably in the lockers of a lot of horsewomen out there. Jim Craig says to his love interest that you work with a horse and not against him. And again, that applies great to goats, cows, whatever you're dealing with. So goats naturally are curious, they naturally like to jump up on things, and so these are things we want to work with our goat and not against. So we want to make sure that we are being supportive and patient with our animals, and again, helping them to gently teach them something new, because this is all pretty freaky for your goat, right? You're asking them to come and get on this thing. You're going to be touching their udder. There's maybe new sights, smells, sounds. So we want this process to be really as painless and as friendly for them as possible. And the reason why I want to share my philosophy with you is so that way you know if this video is even worth watching. I've watched some other YouTube videos about how people train their goats, and whatever works for other people is great, but some folks maybe will tie up a leg or have someone hold the goat down or different things like that, and that's just really not how I like to train animals in. So you can see over my shoulder, the little white nose right there, that is Sucre, and this is going to be her first time having kids. She's a little bit of an older doe, so I'm a little nervous about her having kids. She looks like she's got twins or triplets in there, and she's due in about a month. So I like to start out training my milking animals about a month before they're due. That works out well because then I'm able to start supplementing their feed a little bit and getting them used to having a dairy ration, so that way it's not a big shock to their system, and they kind of have that nutrient extra buildup before they go into labor. I want to emphasize that with each individual goat, it's going to be a lot different. So part of the reason why I shared with you kind of my philosophy is if you come to a point where you're training your goat and you're hitting a little bit of a hiccup and you're not sure how to proceed, just think about those things that you want to work with an animal, not against them, and you're really trying to gentle them into this process, and that should help make your decisions for you as you're trying to figure out how to move forward with training your milk goat. Now, Sucre is definitely a more standoffish type of goat. My Nubian Grace, she will run across the pasture to come and say hello to you. Sucre, our other goat, she is much more cautious. She kind of checks you out from a distance. She's not always sure she wants to do things. And so with her, I'm really taking my time, letting her explore the milk stand. And already she seems fairly comfortable with the milk stand. And so I will be asking her to get up on the stand. So here I just let Sucre come out, and she has been out to see this milk stand twice before, and both times she made the decision herself to hop up on there. So if this is your first time, though, with a goat coming out, it's not important they get on the stand the first, second, or even third time. Just letting them know that there are good, yummy treats where the milk stand is involved, and just letting them smell it, get used to it. You can see here too that I don't have the milk stand pushed up against the outside of that stall like I could. I want her to feel like she isn't trapped or cornered. She should feel like if she's nervous or uncomfortable that she can get out of there. So this is all about building trust and helping them build up their confidence in the space they are. So she hopped up on the milk stand. It was totally her own choice. I didn't even ask her to. I'm just brushing her here, and I'm not asking her to put her head in the kind of head stall there at all. You know, as we go on in our training, I will. There she startled a little because I had the brush a little bit more towards her belly, and she's just not super confident with that yet. So I'll just kind of brush her, and another time or two here, I will introduce the brush toward her belly again, and you can tell she's just not quite ready for it. There I was grabbing the milk stool that I'll be sitting on.
So again, just slowly introducing things to her. After she saw it and I held it out for her to kind of look at, she realized, oh, that's nothing I need to worry about. I can just go ahead and eat my grain. So all these little things that to us just seem like it shouldn't be a big deal can be startling or a little bit shocking for our goat. So it's important that we take the time to introduce these things to them. So here I'm just sitting down where I'm going to be actually milking her. So her getting used to me being in that area. And there you see kind of a stamp, and she's looking and checking out like, what are you doing with that brush? She clearly doesn't like it. There, that's great. She's putting her head in the head stall. And here now she's just taking a little bit of time to say hello to the other goat. She wants to hop off the stand. And since she has been pretty confident with getting on the stand and eating her food there, with her I am asking her to get on the stand to have her food. So just very gently you'll see if she tries to come around and get her little treat while not being on the stand. I'm not shoving her, pushing her, or making her get on the milk stand. I'm just preventing her from getting her treat. So it's going to be her own idea pretty much to get back up on the milk stand. So here I'm not pressuring her. I'm just kind of moving over a little bit so that she decided, well, maybe I'll get up on the stand. So here I'm just putting myself over there. I'm not waving my arms. I'm not yelling at her. I'm just letting her know, nope, if you want your treats, you have to hop up on the stand to get them. So here she's thinking about it. She's like, all right, well, okay, this isn't going to work. So then she decides to come around the other side. And just again, I let her know, yes, there's still treats in here. Yes, you can have them, but you can't have them unless you get on the stand. So again, I just kind of move around. So it's pressure just in my presence. I'm not waving, not doing anything, and there on her own, she decides, okay, I want the treats. I know I get to have the treats when I get on the stand, and so up she goes. So you can see, again, I am definitely not closing this head stall. That is something that you would probably do maybe a couple weeks in, depending on how quickly your goat gets comfortable with it. And I will talk about that a little bit more in this video about the process of getting them used to having the head stall closed. So there again, she's just not comfortable with having my hands around her tummy, which she will eventually need to get comfortable with that because I'm going to be milking her. So my hands are going to be underneath her. But so that's the sort of thing, I'm not forcing her to accept it. I'm just introducing the concept to her, and then we move back to a place where she feels confident and comfortable. And none of this is rushed. Please don't try and train your milk goat when you have 15 minutes before you have to be out the door and on your way to work. I did this training with her in the afternoon when my daughter was napping. Ideally, it'd be good to do it kind of at the times of day that she's going to be milked, so morning and evening. But right now, this is when I have time to be patient, where I can just let her take her time and get used to things. So again, she's feeling confident being on the stand. And this is, again, like I said, her third time being exposed to the milk stand. And so she, on her very first time, chose to get on the milk stand herself. But if you have a goat that is pretty wary about the whole situation, then you might not ask them or encourage them to get on the stand after several times of letting them just have their treats while they're standing on the ground. It really is going to depend on your goat. But Sucre is really doing great here for this just being her third time being introduced to the milk stand. And so that's why I have been consistently asking her to get up there to have her treat. So she's starting to kind of put two and two together. That's what she has to do. So here you can see I'm just kind of talking nice to her and just sitting there, just her being used to my presence. She's not a really snuggly goat. She's not going to come up for nose scritches. Typically, I have to kind of, instigate any sort of contact. So just her being comfortable with me being there while she eats. This process is not painful. It doesn't need to be stressful. She gets to come out, have a treat, get brushed, and just be milked, and that it's going to be a good experience. So it's all about creating positive experiences only on the milk stand. There should never be any sort of negative connotations with the milk stand. I don't trim hooves on the milk stand. I don't give shots on the milk stand. It should just be all positive things all the time for them. And here again, she decided she wanted to get off to get her treat, and I'm letting her know, again, that's not an option. Treats are only had when you're on the milk stand. And you'll see how quickly here she remembers and has figured out, okay, this is what I got to do to get my treats. So she's really doing great considering the fact this is just her third session of training.
So this is really about all you want to do for your first training sessions with your milking goat. You want to make sure that they are able to get comfortable with the milk stand. Make sure you're not really locking them into place. It should really just be a time for them to explore and getting comfortable with the space. So the next steps for Sucre, as you could see, she was kind of a little bit nervous when the brush would hit her tummy. So that's just something that I'm going to just keep doing the same thing that I've done with her now. Probably 2 more times, and as I do it, just every time, I'm going to introduce the brush kind of to her tummy area a little bit every time. If she doesn't like it, that's fine. Let her do whatever she needs to get back to a comfortable space, and then just start again with brushing wherever she was confident. So next steps as we move along with Sucre here is we will eventually start to close the head stall, but that is something, this one needs to be adjusted. It's a little too tight around their necks right now. So what I need to do is adjust this head stall, and then I will just experiment with closing it a little bit. So I'm not going to actually lock her in for quite a while. I'm just going to, see right there, it made her a little nervous. I'm just going to get her used to the sound and the sensation of it moving. And right now she's chasing our barn cat. So that'll be a next step, is just getting her used to that sound and that kind of sensation. Then after that, I will eventually be locking the head stall. Once she is comfortable with that step, the next step I'll probably introduce is actually bringing in the milk bucket. So before I bring the milk bucket in, I want her to be completely confident hopping up on the stand and eating her food. So she should be able to eat all of her grain, and nothing I should do, brushing or touching or anything, should make her freaked out enough to get off the milk stand. So she should be able to stand there perfectly fine with all that happening and eat just fine. Then the next thing is she should be comfortable with me opening, closing, and locking this head stall, and she should just stand there and eat her grain no problem. So if you hit a point where they get uncomfortable and want to leave, that's when you need to take a step back and revisit whatever step you were just on where they had some confidence. So she's confident standing here. I can brush her all over the place. I can close the head stall. Then I might start bringing in the milk bucket. Milk buckets can be clangy and loud and awkward, so I'm going to start bringing that in and setting that underneath her while she eats. So again, that might take a while, kind of going back and forth, introducing the milk bucket, taking it away, having it sitting just where she can smell it, because it's going to be weird and she's going to want to kick at it and stuff. Better she kicks at it now than when it's full of valuable goat's milk. And once we get to that point where she is confident hopping up on the stand, she can be brushed, she can be touched, head stall's closed, she's fine with the milk bucket sounds, then we are pretty much all the way to the point where we are going to hopefully have babies soon and moving on to the milking portion of our milk goat training. And that's where things definitely get a little more hairy. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you taking time to check out this video. I hope this was helpful for you. Again, this is just part 1 in our milk goat series, so about a month from now, when Sucre has her babies, you can see the actual training of teaching her to milk. But we should be really well set. We've got all the foundations ready for it, so hopefully it goes fairly smoothly. We'll see, you just never know with goats. Please make sure you like, subscribe, share. It just helps my videos get found by more people. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much. We just hit 200, which I know is a drop in the bucket for a lot of people, but it's pretty exciting for me. You can always find 2 new blog posts every single week over at the blog, and a new video here on YouTube about farming, family, food, and fortitude here at our Rough and Tumble Farmhouse.